homelessness in this city.
That's a shame of the authorities of Cafeteria that they are forcing families to go and live under the bridge.
What do you want it?
Affordable housing.
Without stability, it's hard to grow.
We demand a living wage.
1 out of 8 people in America now lives in poverty. 1 out of 6 children. Can we reverse this socioeconomic catastrophe? This is the people of Santa Barbara's March for Economic Justice.
To be out there every single day. That's our tree. When we get up every day and say, what am I going to do today to make the world a better place in my daily life? How am I going to hold myself accountable? Because it's easy to stomp and scream and point at the corporations and the corrupt government.
People earning poverty wages, people lacking access to affordable housing, people who are lucky if they have access to health care, and people who suffer the consequences of a very badly eroded public infrastructure. Santa Barbara has come to represent the fact that this grossly distorted picture of prosperity, and we do have a grossly distorted picture of prosperity in this country, it's not a necessity, it's not just, and it is not inevitable. This grossly distorted, it is not inevitable. This grossly distorted picture of prosperity that we have is in fact the product of a political choice. Now that leads me to a second reason that why we're here today. We're here because we didn't make that political choice, and we don't want to make that political choice. That's not the Santa Barbara, that's not in fact the United States that we want to live in. That in fact is not the world that we want to live in. We have another choice in mind, and another side of Santa Barbara to show. A side that doesn't have a distorted picture of prosperity. In fact, you might say we're here to save Santa Barbara.
Santa Barbara is a diverse community of different races and people of different income backgrounds. Students, housewives, homeless, Hispanic, alongside people of extreme wealth and opulence. On Mother's Day 2001, the community of Santa Barbara came together and did something that had never been done before. They marched right down the middle of State Street on what would otherwise have been a quiet afternoon of shopping and lattes. They disrupted the status quo of the community, culminating in a rousing, unprecedented rally in the courthouse sunken gardens of Santa Barbara. An injustice to one is an injustice to all. A great American named Ben Franklin once said, "The poor have little, beggars none, the rich too much, enough not one." The force of the people overcame the obstacles of resistance encountered by a wealthy community that did not want to address this issue publicly, hence creating a potentially volatile situation. Ultimately, the rally continued on a peaceful note with impassioned speeches from homeless activists, migrant farm workers, displaced families, legal activists, and the ACLU, culminating in a beautiful keynote speech from famed Earth activist Julia Butterfly Hill, who brought home the theme that we are all in this together. One planet, one people, one love, one solution.
Never happened before in Santa Barbara history. I think we got a professor out there that wrote a book once called Making History, right? He's out there, Flax is somewhere out there. Anyway, so we're making history today. We really are. And you see all their faces when we're walking down State Street. That was good. Okay, one thing that we can't do when we're here is we can't put those stakes into the ground, okay? There's a lot of rules, a lot of regulations, so we just have to make sure that, I know, it's stupid, but we have to abide by all these rules. I can't believe we just marched down here. I'm having... We've got a really good set of speakers. We've got a good band that's coming up, hopefully. We're in some negotiations right now. We're doing this by the seat of our pants. But that's the way social change works sometimes, right? All right, so our first speaker for right now is Steve Rode. He's the president, local president for the ACLU of Southern California, American Civil Liberties Union. Steve Rode.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks for coming out. It's so great to see you. I was in that crowd about 30 years ago when we stopped the war. special occasion, and the ACLU of Southern California is proud to be here with you. Today, apparently in this place, for one of the first times, we are all exercising our rights under the First Amendment to assemble together and freely speak out against injustice and inequality. But you know, there are powerful forces in this city who didn't want us to be here today. They didn't want us to come together, and they didn't want us to speak out. But I'm proud to say that through the courage of Christine Lawson and the Campus Labor Action Coalition, and the tireless and brilliant legal work of ACLU lawyers like Gilbert Gaynor and Dan Takaji, we are here today. Never forget that we've got the First Amendment on our side, and no government official is going to take that away from us. You're part of a revolutionary struggle that began 225 years ago with the signing of the Declaration of Independence. And you're part of a revolutionary struggle that started 210 years ago when the Bill of Rights was ratified. But these historic documents are meaningless unless brave people like you come out and exercise your constitutional rights. And today, we've come together to demand economic justice. The ACLU believes that constitutional rights and economic justice are inseparable. In 1970, United States Supreme Court Justice William Brennan, my hero, a man I wish with all my heart we had on the Supreme Court today, he wrote that economic security is a means to promote the general welfare and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity. Individual and family security, dignity, and autonomy are among the values which the Bill of Rights protects. To suffer for financial reasons, a lack of food, a lack of housing, a lack of health care, to struggle constantly for sheer survival deprives people not only of a decent living, but of basic human rights. The ACLU of Southern California was founded when a social activist, Upton Sinclair, was arrested for reading the Bill of Rights in support of striking dock workers in San Pedro. In 1934, Sinclair ran for governor of California on the epic platform, End Poverty in California. That struggle continues to this day. Today, you are part of the first annual Santa Barbara People's March for Economic Justice. We don't beg, we demand affordable rousing. We don't beg, we don't ask, we demand an end to homelessness in this city. We don't ask, we don't beg, we demand a living wage. It's a privilege to be with you today, for the ACLU to be in solidarity with you, and we will achieve economic justice. Thank you.
Many farm workers live and work on the Central Coast. One of the farms, Picksweet Mushrooms, was targeted for boycott for taking advantage of farm workers who have little or no recourse. The impact this has on their families and the community is devastating when the cost of living far surpasses the incomes of the people in the community. As a result, good hard-working families are being forced into poverty, forced to live on the street. With housing prices, fuel prices, and everything else inflating dramatically, there is little the average person can do to prevent the economic catastrophe under the current status quo.
My name is Jesus Mesa, and I am a board member of the Cafeteria Tenant Union. I want to say that a lot of families from Cafeteria were displaced from apartment complex. They were displaced because the city of Cafeteria, with a housing organization, they bought a place, but a lot of families from that building were displaced once they got the building. And although they were promised to get relocation, they never did. And a lot of those families went to live to a comfort park that is called Cafeteria Comfort Park, and some of the families were living in tool sheds. And when the city found out, code enforcement went into the comfort park, and they only asked the owner for permission. They didn't ask the residents there. So the Cafeteria Tenants Union was formed on July 18 last year. And we went to the City Hall to protest those actions. Even though we're not against code enforcement, we're against the way they went in. Because the inspectors went in on their car. They were driving on the park and taking pictures. They didn't ask the residents, they didn't inform why they were there, anything. They didn't do anything to inform them. So people were afraid and were down and were confused. And so we went to City Hall. Now, when we went to City Hall and asked the city officials why they went in and why people were not informed, well, they apologized and everything else and said, you know, whatever. But we said, well, what can the city do? If people are going to be displaced, at least you should arrange for shelter or something while people get a place to live. And you know what they did? The city officials of Cafeteria, they gave us a whole list of the Santa Barbara shelters. What a great way to resolve the housing issues of working families of Cafeteria. to send them to the Santa Barbara homeless shelters? That's a shame. That's a shame of the authorities of Carpinteria, that they are forcing families to go live under the bridges. Hardworking people are forced to live under those bridges, under those Carpinteria beautiful bridges. Is that fair? No! Of course not. And that's why we're here. We're here to tell the authorities that they cannot ignore us anymore. We're not going to take it anymore. A city leader of Carpinteria said a couple years ago, referring to hardworking families of Carpinteria, something to the effect that we workers do not contribute to the community of Carpinteria. They said that the workers only get their check, get some food, and send the rest of the money to Mexico. I'm going to tell you, and I'm going to tell the authorities, how can we send money to Mexico if we don't have enough to pay the rent? They said we do not contribute. We are here to say that we do contribute. We do contribute. We do contribute. Queremos decirle a las autoridades del condado de Santa Bárbara que nosotros, los trabajadores de Carpintería y de todo el condado de Santa Bárbara, sí contribuimos. Nosotros contribuimos. Nosotros contribuimos. And that's why we are here.
El pueblo unido jamás será vencido. El pueblo unido jamás será vencido. El pueblo unido jamás será vencido. The people united will never be divided. The people united will never be divided. El pueblo unido jamás será vencido. El pueblo unido jamás será vencido. El pueblo united will never be divided. El people united will never be divided. El pueblo unido jamás será vencido. El people united will never be divided. El pueblo unido jamás será vencido.
During the march, students, activists, homeless, and farm workers joined forces to protest the extreme gap between wealth and poverty that exists in the Santa Barbara Ventura area, and to expose the injustice and greed that this society has brought upon those not fortunate enough to be able to afford the median housing level, which is over $500,000.
I'm definitely losing my voice here. Our next speaker is Allison Adams. She's a lawyer with the Committee for Social Justice.
I have to tell you, we've actually had the success of the courts. Some of the judges are now recognizing that the necessity defense applies to camping and sleeping, which means that if you have to live in your vehicle, you can tell the court you don't have any place else to live. And you can win your case. This is an extremely important thing because it used to be that all they cared about was that you were sleeping in the car and you got a fine or a ticket or something like that. One of the things you need to realize is you're part of an historic movement. This goes back many, many, many years and it's going to go on into the future. Today is the 40th anniversary of one of the Freedom Rides. It was the Greyhound ride that went from Washington into Louisiana. I just saw on TV, they never made that ride, but they changed the world. Can we change the world, people? Starting when? Now! Keep up the good work, Santa Barbara. I love you guys. Bye.
Thank you, Alice. Okay, Allison, I'm sorry. Our next speaker is a longtime activist here. Nancy McCrady's been working on homeless issues, and let's give it up for her. Okay, Nancy McCrady.
Santa Barbara. Being classified as homeless separates me from the rest of the community. However, I am proud of myself. I have learned how to take a shower. I have learned how to take a shower in a gallon of water. I live on propane and generated electricity. And I work very hard, 7 days a week, delivering papers. I have raised 2 children in this fashion, and they have both grown into conscientious adults. But I'm going to take myself back in time. 19 years ago, I went to a Grey Panthers meeting and watched the little old ladies cry. You see, they were on a fixed income, and they were losing their rental housing. I told myself then I would never pay rent again. I didn't want to be beholden to a landlord. I wanted to support my children. So I had to force, with my income, I had to make that choice. We were pretty comfortable, so I bought a camper, and we were pretty comfortable. And I didn't have to pay that 50 to 70% of my income for rent. But you know, 6 months later, the boom hit. It was the police putting dents in my new camper with their billy clubs. I was informed that it was against the law to live in my new home. I was told to take my son out of his warm bed, go to an all-night restaurant, and drink coffee until it was time for me to go to work at 2 o'clock in the morning. Yeah, if I did not comply, I was to be arrested, and my son was going to be taken away. For 3 weeks, they came in every night and woke me up and informed me of my duties. What happened next? I got mad. What was I to do? The pickup and camper was the first comfortable place to exist my son and I had since fleeing from an abusive marriage. It was time to get creative. Since we did not have the first and last and end deposit for a conventional dwelling, I turned to the streets. You see, the homeless had been coming to me, asking me to get involved in starting an organization. They were tired of going to jail just for the simple act of sleeping. It was an all-out war on the streets between the police and the homeless. It was time to organize. The Homeless People's Association was born on a rainy night in a parking lot on the corner of Santa Barbara Street and Cabrillo Boulevard. It was February of 1982. I've been working on this for a long time. Many of the people on the streets attended that first meeting soaking wet. We set up other meetings. We went to the media. We were good. We got even better. We learned that we had to attract a lot of attention. We could not care if the people hated us, we were afraid of us, we just had to get in their faces. It began to work. The Fig Tree Park filled up with people. With the help of many friends who were attracted to our movement, we won the right to vote. Can you imagine an American citizen not being able to vote? We could not. We were homeless. We were less than nothing to the people who interpreted the law for us. 30% of the homeless were Vietnam vets. They couldn't even vote in the election. The 101 freeway was blocked that night when we were allowed to vote for Ronald Reagan. That was a coup. That was a real good coup. Down the road a piece, the Homeless People's Association became the Homeless Coalition. Out of the lobbying efforts the coalition put forth, the Transition House was born. Quite a place the Transition House is. It has helped many people, but they did not take care of the rest of us who still got arrested for sleeping and camping and living in our vehicles. For 19 years, we have asked the city to place a moratorium on the laws that criminalize us. No way. Politically, it would be suicide for our reps. You see, the city's politicians represent the people who are lucky to have the money to pay rent. They represent the people who are able to buy a home. They represent the people who are afraid of alternative housing situations and who are afraid of the man on the streets who hasn't made a choice to go behind a locked door as yet. However, some positive changes have been made. We now have an emergency shelter and day use center for the people without housing. Shower facilities. The people who put this place together are community leaders from all walks of life. Some of them got involved because they wanted the people without homes out of the downtown corridor. You see, we were an embarrassment to this pristine community by the sea. The City Ordinance Committee has passed law after law to try and control the growing population of people without homes in our city and county. Perhaps we can dedicate ourselves instead to find space to build low-cost motor housing parks. Most important of all, we have to find a way to designate the people who are homeless, a selected class, and decriminalize them. Being part of the homeless movement has always been an adventure for me. I look out at you, the people working for economic justice. I give you this before I leave. Have faith in your dreams, teach the members of your movement to become leaders of men, and never give up. Always always use nonviolent means to get your point across, and you will eventually win. Good luck to us all.
Kind of, we're struggling for the 14th Amendment of the constitutional right, which allows people their basic necessity of living. You know,
I've been standing here.
All people have inalienable rights to protection of health and property and privacy. You know, pursuit of happiness. Without stability, it's hard to grow, and that's what we're pretty much.
He's a victim of real estate investment. He's paid rent in Isla Vista for years. I've known him. I live in the same building. And there comes a time where they won't accept HUD housing anymore, and so now he's been homeless for how long?
A few years, 3 years now.
He's awesome.
You know, it's all about the people that really supported Isla Vista all the way through the years when you could get an apartment there for $150 a month, you know? And now all of a sudden there's no rent control,
yep,
there's
the Latinos and people like us that had been there for a long time, we supported that whole town when the chips were down for the landlords. We paid the rent. There was a lot of vacancies. Now the tables are turned and everybody's getting pushed out. They say they want to have a community out there, but what's the community mean? It's happening all over.
They're trying to turn it into Disneyland.
It has come to represent not only the extremes of wealth and poverty that we see around us, but the growing gap between the concentrated wealth of a very few in the society and the vast majority of working and middle class Americans. That is what Santa Barbara has come to represent. Santa Barbara has come to represent the great contradictions of a society that celebrates its prosperity, even as it depends for that very prosperity on people earning poverty wages. In fact, you might say we're here to save Santa Barbara from the dangers, the distortions, the vicious cycle, the pathology of inequality and concentrated wealth. Because it is, after all, a pathology.
This is one in an icon community. With none of this, I hear a racist ideology. Now it's fought to break away. Against the wall, of the cycle never changes. So nothing was one of the man. Thou shalt not keep the secret over and over again. The light night turns to sound. Light night turns to sound. Light night turns to
for the repeal of SB 1. The study policy won the policy that eliminated affirmative action in the UC system. So you guys got to come out and fight for affirmative action in the UC system. Noon at the Arbor at UCSB, and I want to introduce you to one of the co-founders of Students for a Free Tibet for a quick announcement.
Hey. I'm with Students for a Free Tibet, and we just founded our organization in hopes to free the Tibetan people from oppression. We found out that the UC Regents have invested our money in ventures that will destroy the Tibetan environment. We're going to have a protest May 22nd on Tuesday in front of Cheadle Hall to urge the UC Regents to divest their money. We're going to condemn them for having our money invested in such ventures. It's amazing to see all these people from such different backgrounds here to fight for the truth. And we wish that we can fight for people in foreign lands as well. So thank you all. Thanks,
So come out to the protest this Tuesday and next Tuesday for affirmative action and the Tibetan freedom. Right now, I just want to give major props out to one of the main organizers, Ralph Armbruster-Sandoval. One of the most amazing people that we've met. Everybody give it up. Let's hear a round of applause for Ralph. He's done an amazing job in his last voice today, but he knows that all of us out here love him, and we thank him for the amazing organizing he's done.
Okay, so let's go. Our last speaker, this was supposed to be the theme here, is another revolutionary woman, Julia Butterfly, who spent, of course, many people know, many people have been waiting for her. I've been waiting for this too. I really wanted to see the movie the other day, but now I can see her in the flesh. And I got to read her book. I'm going to read her book for sure. So it was kind of planned for this. It's really great that we have Julia Butterfly here to speak with us.
Thank you for that warm welcome, and I return it right back to you, and I really give all the props to these people for making today happen. I know how much effort it takes to pull something like this together, and I really honor the hard work of these individuals and the other people who help make it happen. And I know, though, that there's some people, even with that warm welcome, there's some people who might be thinking, well, what is a granola munching, tofu eating, tree hugging hippie like Julia Butterfly doing at an event like this? And as was mentioned a moment ago, and what my heart was compelling me that I want to touch on today, is that the same forces that are destroying the redwoods, the same forces that are oppressing and destroying nature around the world, are the same exact forces that are oppressing and destroying the people of this planet. They're the same one. And we are seeing it more and more and more under NAFTA, under the Free Trade of the Americas Agreement, under World Trade Organization, under World Bank, IMF, this alphabet soup of corporations and corrupt government officials who are stealing from the planet and the people on it and taking everything and not caring who pays the price under supposed free trade. And so I think it's really, really powerful that people are coming together like you are today. Why? Because these people have gotten the power they've gotten because slowly over time we've given it away. Day after day, we've given it away. So today can't stop with today. You understand, I hope, that today can't stop with today. We have to have more than just occasional jumping up and marching. It's got to be an everyday thing. It's got to be an every moment of everyday thing. You see, it took 738 days to protect that over 1,000-year-old tree I lived in Luna and the area around it, not because it took me 738 days, but because it took 738 days necessary to build the critical mass necessary to protect that tree. Now every day I gave it all that I had, every day, day in, day out, day in, day out, day in, day out. And then other people gave what they had and gave what they had, and that's what builds the critical mass. So the people who put on this event today, don't make them be the ones that are always going to have to shoulder the responsibility of making these things happen. Keep these signs that you have, don't throw them away, and every break you have, march around with that sign and let the public know that the issue's not over with. And I heard mention earlier about honoring the mothers. Heck yeah, honor the mother. That earth underneath your feet is another gift of labor that is not honored and is destroyed, even though it labors every day for us to breathe, to be able to drink, to be able to go outside without our skin burning off, to be able to have sustenance from which farmers take and provide a living wage. Don't forget the mama of all mamas. Don't forget what the earth provides. There are no jobs on a dying planet. Yeah. We must recognize that the two come together, and I think it's beautiful that all of you here today and the organizers recognize that, and I feel so honored to be able to come and honor the brothers and sisters who are in struggle right now, demanding fair wage, demanding the ability to live in Santa Barbara, in this area, be able to afford to live, to be honored for our hard day's work. And I heard mention, well, when you go into the Papa John's and the Pizza Huts, you know, tell them to stop using those mushrooms. Don't purchase from Papa John's and Pizza Hut. How best can we help the workers? How best can we help the planet? How best can we help the indigenous and native peoples around the world who are being oppressed and killed and destroyed and pushed into genocide in this country and around the world every day? It sure is not going to be by giving our money to corporations. It's not going to start there. I am amazed at how often I go to really incredible events with really conscious people, and yet they're still really being a part of the problem. I think about things like coffee and how big that is in the world today, and then I see how many people are walking into Starbucks. And I'm thinking about the workers who are picking the beans for Starbucks. And I think about the fact that they use mass amounts of chemicals on those fields, and those workers who are out there working for poverty wage, most of the time enslavement, barely anything more than enslavement, and they're working in those chemicals that are causing diseases. It is not fair trade. It is not shade grown. A rainforest is being annihilated. Also, somebody can go into Starbucks and get a coffee in a paper cup with a plastic lid. We have to be a part of the solution every moment of every day. So coming to an event like today is important, but it can't stop here. For all of you who had a great time today with the Creator blessing us with a beautiful day, with great music, with strong solidarity, don't let this inspiration and this magic and this power die today. Take it out there, take it into the streets, take it out into the forest. My brothers and sisters are still in the trees in Humboldt County in California. They are still on the front lines. They are getting arrested every day. They're getting pepper sprayed by police. They are being oppressed and hurt just like the workers in this county are. They are getting slap-suited by the corporation. These people who have given up everything in their lives are now being sued by the corporation, Pacific Lumber Max Sam, Corporation to be specific, for hindering their business when their business happens to be raping the forests and raping the communities that live there. Those people are out there every single day. We have to be out there every single day. That's our tree. When we get up every day and say, what am I going to do today to make the world a better place? In my daily life, how am I going to hold myself accountable? Because it's easy to stomp and scream and point at the corporations and the corrupt governments. It is another thing to look at those three fingers pointing back at us every time we point at what's wrong. That's where it's got to start, right here. From the inside out, from the ground up, beginning with our heart and spirit. Absolutely, we should be angry at the corporations. It's not only our right to be angry, it's our responsibility to be angry at what they're doing. But let us not do what we do out of our hatred or our anger. Let us do what we do out of our love. You see, our love is the one thing they cannot take away from us. That is our power that will keep us for the long run. Let's show them what love in action is all about. It's more than sitting around feeling groovy. It's about being out there every moment, every day, saying, we will not accept you destroying the future, and we're going to be a part of creating the future we want to live in. And it begins daily. And then it goes community. We are here today because of the community. I am here today because I want to support your community. I want to support the brothers and sisters that were up here talking about what's happening to them. They are not a statistic. They are not a martyr. They are not a poster child. They are a human being with blood pumping through their veins, and they deserve respect just as much as the blood that pumps through the earth underneath our feet. And then we take that globally. How do we affect globally? By what we're doing communally. We do not shop at corporations. We start community-supported agriculture, and then we give these brothers and sisters jobs there. The corporations and the corrupt governments only have the power because day by day we gave it away. And some people say, well, I didn't give it away. One thing I learned in the last few years of my life is that our inactions allow ourselves to be oppressed. That gives our power away to the oppressors. Anytime we see an injustice, every moment of every day, as you're walking down the street, if you see an injustice, stop right there and do something about it. Don't keep walking on. Be a part of the solution every moment of every day. And don't let it stop here. Take it out every day. And when you leave this community and you go to another community, inform yourself, get involved. Go to base camps up north if you so desire and find out there. If you go traveling around the world, pick up the litter that our people who tend to go visiting in other countries like to drop on the ground because we've forgotten how sacred the ground is. As you're walking down your own street, pick up the trash. And people say, well, what is all that, what you're starting to veer off a little bit, so we're here about economic justice. The reality is, that's right, it's all the same. It's all connected. We are all one. The air, the sun, the trees, the animals, the water, the birds, the ground, each other, we are all one. And if each and every one of us every day wake up and say, today I am going to live a life of loving, joyous service in action to the world, then you will have found your own tree to sit in. Because I can't do it by myself. I don't want that responsibility. I'm just a human being giving it my best every moment of every day. And I'm here to ask that you do the same. Thank you so much. I'm so honored.
All right. We have just a couple more things to do here, okay? And we want to close this out today the right way. This has been a beautiful day. A celebration, a protest, and we made history again here today. So we want to close this day out the right way.
Always stand aside and look.
I'd just like to get one more scream for everybody. Our struggle is for freedom for animals, people, and the planet. That's the anarchist struggle.